To all the souls seeking silence in the night, this is Silent Night Narrator. Tonight, as the world drifts into slumber and the rain taps gently on your window, let this true tale guide you into a darker realm, where the line between what is and what might be becomes unclear. Breathe in, relax, but don't close your eyes too quickly. For sometimes, true fear whispers right at the edge of your dreams. The city rarely truly slept, but its restless hum shifted to a different frequency after midnight. For Sarah, this was her domain, the quiet hours she spent behind the wheel of her battered sedan, ferrying strangers under the cloak of anonymity. Ride-sharing was a means to an end, a way to chase down elusive bills, and, more importantly, to outrun the echoes of a past she desperately wanted to leave behind. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty, a constant reminder of the volatile relationship she'd fled. Nights on the road offered a distracting rhythm, a transient connection to a world that moved too fast for painful introspection. Tonight, however, felt different. An oppressive stillness clung to the air, thicker than the usual urban haze, even before the app pinged with her next pickup. The address was on the fringe of the downtown core, an area that bled into the industrial outskirts. She spotted him immediately, a figure draped in shadow, his frame unnervingly slender, a wide-brimmed fedora obscuring most of his face as he emerged from the gloom. His dark coat seemed to absorb the streetlights, making him a deeper void in the already dim night. As he approached, a shiver, not of cold, traced its way up her spine. It was a primal alarm, a whisper of caution her instincts seldom gave. "Evening," she offered, forcing a smile as he smoothly slid into the rear seat. The car's interior, usually a space of fleeting comfort, suddenly felt claustrophobic. "Heading to Oakwood Avenue, correct?" His assent was a silent nod, his eyes, dark pools under the fedora's brim, meeting hers in the rearview mirror. That gaze held a glacial intensity, devoid of warmth or curiosity, that made her skin prickle with an unsettling dread. Small talk, her usual lubricant for awkward silences, died on her tongue. Something about him demanded absolute quiet. 5 minutes into the drive, as the familiar urban grid began to dissolve into sparser, less-known streets, his voice finally broke the silence. It was a low, gravelly rasp, an inflection she couldn't place, yet it resonated with an unnerving familiarity. "You navigate these nocturnal roads often?" he inquired. "A few nights a week," she replied, striving for a casualness she didn't feel, her gaze flicking nervously to the mirror. He was not looking out the window, not absorbed in his phone. His focus was entirely on the back of her head, a heavy, silent weight. "Helps with expenses." A thoughtful hum vibrated from the back seat. "Must encounter a myriad of interesting souls." Sarah managed a non-committal nod. The silence stretched, becoming a taut string of tension. The streetlights grew scarce, replaced by the deep, consuming blackness of the urban periphery. Then, abruptly, he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper that felt too close for comfort. "So, what compelled a person such as yourself to embrace this particular vocation?" The way he lingered on person sent a fresh wave of unease through her, as if the word itself was a foreign concept he was testing on his tongue. "Just trying to make ends meet," she mumbled, attempting a light laugh that sounded strained even to her own ears. "The flexible hours align well with my existing commitments." "Your commitments," he echoed, slowly, the words heavy with implied meaning. "And what else does your intricate schedule encompass, Sarah?" The sudden use of her name, unprompted by any tag or conversation, hit her like a physical blow. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. How did he know? Her rideshare profile was deliberately sparse. I believe there's been some misapprehension, she managed, her voice trembling despite her efforts to steady it. Perhaps we should terminate the journey here. He chuckled, a low, guttural sound that seemed to scrape against the night itself. Oh, I rather think not, Sarah. We've barely begun. Then, with chilling precision, he added, Indeed, your profile speaks of a sister. Millbrook, wasn't it? A delightful little township. Her blood ran cold. Millbrook. That was a private detail, a place not linked to her public persona. Panic clawed at her throat. You're mistaken, she insisted, her voice now a desperate whisper. There's nothing about that in my profile. Oh, but there is, he countered, his tone laced with mock pity. And much more. Your aspirations, your anxieties, even those little clandestine acts you believe are hidden. His hand, slow and deliberate, slipped inside his coat. In that terrifying instant, a single, desperate thought ignited in Sarah's mind. Survival. She didn't pause to consider the consequences. With a surge of pure adrenaline, she slammed on the brakes. The sedan screeched to a violent halt, throwing her passenger forward with a jarring jolt. Before he could recover, she lunged, unbuckling her seatbelt with a frantic flick and flinging open the driver's door. Her feet hit the cold, rough pavement, pounding a frantic rhythm as she ran, not daring to glance back. She heard the distinct thud of his car door slamming, followed by his enraged shouts echoing behind her. The alley was a labyrinth of deep shadows and unseen obstacles. Houses loomed like silent, unlit sentinels. She darted between two buildings, breath ragged, lungs burning. His footsteps, impossibly swift, were closing in. She pushed harder, legs screaming in protest. Then a sickening lurch. Her foot caught on an uneven patch of ground, sending her sprawling, hands and knees scraping against the gritty asphalt. Before she could push herself up, a hand, shockingly strong, clamped around her ankle, yanking her back. A choked scream tore from her throat as she thrashed wildly, but his grip was unyielding, an iron vice. He flipped her over, his silhouette a looming menace against the faint silvery glow of the distant moon. For the first time, she saw his face clearly. His eyes, once merely unsettling, now blazed with a manic, unsettling glee, a predatory hunger. A wide, grotesque grin stretched across his features, revealing teeth that seemed too large, too sharp. Now, he crooned, his voice a mocking lullaby. That was rather ungracious, Sarah. We were engaged in such a delightful exchange. How do you know my name? She gasped, struggling against his immense strength. What is it you desire? He tilted his head, an almost curious expression twisting his face. I possess intimate knowledge of you, Sarah. Your secret hopes, your deepest anxieties, those small, shameful truths you keep locked away. He leaned closer, his breath a hot, unwelcome presence on her face. And what I seek is a diversion, a little amusement. He withdrew his hand from his coat, revealing not a gun, but a long, thin blade. The knife glinted in the faint moonlight, its wickedly sharp edge reflecting the terror in her eyes. It's a rather simple diversion, he explained, his voice taking on a sing-song quality. I pose queries and you provide candid answers. Should you deviate from the truth, the consequences, shall we say, are acutely pointed. Sarah swallowed hard, her gaze fixated on the gleaming steel. And if I decline? His grip on her arm tightened painfully, a chilling demonstration of his resolve. That, Sarah, is not an available option. The diversion has already commenced. Her mind raced, desperately searching for an escape, a loophole. She had to buy time to keep him engaged. What? What kind of amusement? She whispered, her voice barely a thread. First inquiry, he began, ignoring her question, his voice returning to its light, taunting lilt. Why did you truly begin navigating these nocturnal thoroughfares? The truth felt like a raw nerve exposed, embarrassing, vulnerable, but the knife was a cold, hard arbiter of honesty. I was attempting to elude someone, she admitted, the words spilling out. An estranged former partner who wouldn't desist. I theorized nocturnal employment would render me less discoverable. He nodded, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. Commendable, Sarah. Candor becomes you. Next inquiry. What is your most profound apprehension? Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. The deepest, most primal fear. The knife seemed to hum with anticipation. Helplessness, she whispered, hating the raw vulnerability of the admission. Being stripped of control over my own existence. A cold, calculating smile spread across his face, sending shivers through her. Intriguing. And at this precise moment, Sarah, how much command do you perceive yourself to possess? She bit back a sob, a tempest of anger and fear raging within her. What do you want from me? She demanded, her voice cracking. Why are you inflicting this? He tisked, wagging the knife gently before her face. Now, that is not how the amusement proceeds. I am the one who poses the inquiries, recall. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light pierced the darkness of the alley, momentarily searing their vision. The roar of an engine revving filled the air, deafening in the sudden stillness. Her attacker's head snapped up, his form briefly silhouetted against the oncoming headlights. A vehicle had swerved into the alley, its high beams illuminating the grotesque tableau. For a split second, time seemed to freeze. Then, with a guttural snarl of pure frustration, he released her, scrambling to his feet. He cast one last burning look at her, his eyes blazing with a chilling promise of future retribution, before vanishing into the deeper shadows. The car screeched to a halt beside her, and the passenger window glided down. A familiar, concerned face peered out. It was Marge, a kind, older woman, another rideshare driver Sarah knew from their shared nocturnal circuit. Sarah! My heavens, are you unharmed? Marge's voice was thick with concern. Sarah nodded weakly, still trembling, pulling herself to her feet. Marge, how did you locate me? Marge helped her into the passenger seat, her eyes scanning the darkness warily. A notification regarding a canceled trip in this sector. Something felt amiss. So I decided to investigate. Thank the heavens I did. As Marge pulled away, speeding out of the desolate alley, Sarah couldn't shake the chilling conviction that this terrifying encounter was far from concluded. The man's final, lingering gaze was a clear, unspoken message. Their twisted game had merely been suspended, not truly ended. In the ensuing days, Sarah provided a statement to the authorities, knowing full well the incredulity in their eyes. She deactivated her phone number, relocated to a new apartment, further from the city's pulsing heart. She ceased her nocturnal driving entirely, the memory of that night, and the face of her attacker, an ever-present specter. Yet, even now months later, the pervasive fear clung to her like a shroud. Every silhouette in a darkened street, every unexpected sound behind her at night, sent her heart racing into a frantic tattoo. She knew, with a horrifying certainty, that he was still out there, lurking, waiting. And when their paths inevitably converged again, she feared the game would recommence, with stakes far exceeding anything she could possibly imagine. Sleep well tonight. And if you hear footsteps next door, just remember, it's only the rain. But if, when the story ends, you still hear it falling, know this: